This is the Political Spotlight.
The Political Spotlight is a joke. It's more like a political flop.
Nobody listens to Bilbrey.
He's just a wannabe podcaster. No one takes him seriously.
He is a rude, crude dude that will never go any further than broadcasting from his mother's basement.
Bilbrey is a wrecking ball for Indiana politicians.
Grab another box of Twinkies and generic cola, Bilbrey,
And get back to your microphone and your audience of nobodies.
The Political Spotlight is a joke.
He is like a rude, crude dude that will never go
Bilbrey is a wrecking ball for Indiana politics. Shut that stupid Bilbrey up.
Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. We are here on a Sunday evening, our initial night of the week, Sunday night, and we are in our last big push for candidate interviews. We're gonna get them done this week, and it's I will be ready to get back to normal, but I'm glad that we are bringing this to the masses and allowing the voting populace to listen to the candidates that are asking for your vote. I'm telling you, I'm still going to be disappointed in the number of candidates that either refuse to do it or never were able to check their emails or their Facebook messages. And we're going to talk about that towards the end of this process because we still have a few days where people could pop in. Probably what I would have done and what the plan was if we had all of the candidates that I had actually put the information out to, we would have done 2 a night. And so that's what we would have done to get everybody in. But we've had some that just decided they either didn't want to do this or they didn't know how to check their messages. They won't check their messages. And I feel like, to me, if you're running for office and you're a candidate wanting a job, you should have your social media and your phone and your email figured out, and you should probably be checking that on a pretty regular basis. And if you're not, in my opinion, that lets me know that that's probably going to be how you're going to govern. And I've got a big issue with that. So there are some people out there that I support, but on the flip side of this, I'm going to have some negative opinions of because of their I get it. If somebody just says, no, we're not coming on, that's one thing. I'm going to be shitty to that person because they choose not to take an avenue to talk to people. But at least they were able to say, no, I'm not coming on. But if you have a couple of different platforms out there, you got social media, you got a personal page and a campaign page, and you've got an email address, and you've got a website, and you've got a phone number, and you're not responding to any of these things, that's a problem for me. So we'll talk about that at the end of the week. But tonight, we do have a candidate interview. We do have, I would say this will be the final candidate in the Republican side of the Henry County Sheriff's race. There are 7 candidates in all running for sheriff of Henry County, 2 Democrats, 5 Republicans. And of those 5 Republicans, there are 2 that I think are probably just protesting the show, that being current Sheriff John Sproles and, of course, Randy Howard. We've talked to everybody else, so we're lacking the 2 sheriff's candidates that I've mentioned on the Republican side, Sproles and Howard. We have also not talked with Bockover, and we have some time, so we'll see what happens there. But tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be talking to Mr. Craig Ring, a lifetime resident of Henry County. That being said, Craig is kind of a special candidate running for sheriff in the fact that he is not currently a Henry County Sheriff's deputy or a police officer at any department or town marshal or anything like that. He is not now serving law enforcement officer, nor has he been. He's not like retired or had served in the past in law enforcement. He is a gentleman who is using the Constitution to run for an office which he legally fits the requirements to. You do not have to be a current police officer or have served in law enforcement in any capacity to run for the office of sheriff. It is a constitutional office, and he fits those requirements. So he's going to be coming to this from a different perspective. And I think that's going to be interesting. We're going to hear what he's got to say, and we're going to talk about that. So we'll be talking about that. And then after the candidate interview, I am going to provide a little bit of update on the events from last night, what we have learned in the past 24 hours, and everything that we have heard, and everything that's going on. So it's interesting, as the events were unfolding last night, we had some people in the comments that were like, I just don't understand how this happened. And I wish I would have said it last night. I guess I should have, but I care less about in those instances being right and more about being factual, I guess. But we have some now updates which were pretty much in line with what I was thinking. So we'll be talking about that on the back half of the show. But without further ado, let's bring this gentleman up and talk with him. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to bring up the one of the current Republican candidates running for sheriff of Henry County, Mr. Craig Ring. Welcome to the show.
Hi there.
How's it going?
It's going good. The connection is not the best. I think we're having a Howard moment. I'm not sure.
Hey, that happens. We can work through it. If we have some kind of issue, I've got another way to connect that won't be an issue. But why don't we just start off and why don't you tell people why you are running?
Well, I'm running for Henry County Sheriff for the people. I feel like the sheriff's department, as long as the police department, or as well as the police department, I should say, has a hard time giving the public a fair shake. And by saying that, I feel like they are in it for themselves and not in it for the public.
Okay. I think that's here. I think that is pretty. I feel like that's a pretty safe feeling. A lot of people in Henry County and people outside of Henry County that are kind of watching what's going on, I think a lot of people have that same feeling. And I think that while people definitely understand what the anger towards what's happening currently in the Henry County Sheriff's Department and why you would want to run, what are you saying to people, and how do you combat the looking like what experience do you have that makes you think that you can run the Sheriff's Department without that law enforcement experience? And what do you say to people to combat people who say, well, you don't have any experience in law enforcement, so how are you going to do this job?
Okay, that broke up pretty bad.
Uh-oh.
I got the gist of it.
Okay.
You've asked me. Go ahead.
No, you're fine.
Wow. I'm going to try another piece of.
You're fine. If you want to take some, that's fine.
Yeah, it's cutting out bad. Let's try this. Let me try coming back on with my.
Okay, if you want to kick out and come back in, that's fine.
Okay, let me try that. I'm gonna log off of here and I'll try coming back.
All right. Well, hey, look. If I didn't know If I didn't know what to say or what to do with myself, this would be awkward, but I'm sure I could talk to you guys about anything at any point. So while we wait for him to communicate, I think down there in Henry County, they have Howard internet service. I think that's something that the officials of Henry County are going to have to eventually do something about. This Howard service is going on. Jeff, I don't know why you're not getting any sound. That's probably a personal problem. You'll probably have to go out and come back in. Dear Lord. It's been one of those days, folks. We're going to give him a little bit of time. While we're waiting, I will say, and we'll talk about this on the back half of this. I will say that to the people last night that were saying, how did that guy get close to the ballroom? Well, the dinner last night, as it has been for the last 50-some years, was being held in the Hilton Hotel in Washington, D.C., the Washington, D.C. Hilton Hotel. And lo and behold, hotels are these great big buildings with rooms with which you can check into for days and days and days on end. And lo and behold, this man checked in as a guest to the hotel. So he didn't arrive at this event on the outside with a gun ready to go in blasting. He was already inside the building with guns. And apparently he took down a handgun and a shotgun from his room into the event. Now, that was my first thought last night when everybody's like, how did he get close to this event? And I'm like, what if he just got a week's worth of what if he stayed there the week before? That's crazy to me. So I wish I would have said that, but I didn't say that last night. So that's my bad. And yes, he did. That was very bizarre. That run, dude. And I'm thinking like, and here's what kills me. Here's what really kills me is he takes off doing that run, all right, arms tucked back and everything. I don't know where his guns were. Maybe he had a sling. Maybe he tucked it in his pants, you know. Is that a 44 Magnum in your pants, or are you just happy to see me? And he went running through. Woo! And what really kills me is all of a sudden 5, 6, 7 Secret Service agents are like, plow, plow, plow. And none of them hit him. That is a far bigger problem in my mind. That we have these people that are supposed to be like the 1% of 1%. Like, I get it. Street cops have an issue with shooting like that. I get that. I've got a problem with that because, you know, if your job is to carry a gun and to possibly have to shoot it, you know, you should really, really, really be training that. I get the departments not maybe being able to train. I'm just talking about you as the individual agent. You should be able to shoot. You know what I mean? And so, no, Joe, what we're hearing, and now what I heard literally before going on, the most up-to-date news that I have is that he did blast away with his shotgun, and apparently he had birdshot in it or something, and they kept saying officer. They kept saying last night, officer, officer. It wasn't an officer. I kept thinking it was like because the Secret Service has uniformed division. People don't know that. And then there are also Washington, D.C. officers. It was not an officer. It was a Secret Service agent. And that this guy hit one of the agents with some shot. And so that's the other reason why his Kevlar helped him, because, hell, you could be hit with birdshot and without a vest and live. So he didn't take the full brunt of it. He took, some shot. So that's that. But apparently the guy, now saying this guy was in the building before this event, that's the first thing I thought last night. But then I also said, well, I'm very interesting. Well, he also had a handgun. I mean, he had a handgun, and who knows what he had stacked up in the shotty. But apparently his first blast was birdshot or something, because it spread out. It wasn't like he didn't have a slug in there or something. So very, very strange. JFK, Jack, I think you mean JFK. Bush shot JFK. Is that what you're trying to say? Cheney shot people, and Bush didn't shoot Cheney. Cheney shot Squeaky shot Ford with a pawn shot pistol. That was a lyric in a song that my band and I tried to record a long time ago. I always loved that lyric. Squeaky from Manson, the Manson family. Squeaky shot Ford with a pawn shot pistol. I always thought that was a killer line. I'm mad that we never actually wrote that into a song. That's the first time I thought about that in a long time. Anyways, yeah, so that but I wondered, because I thought, well, surely if they're going to hold this event here, the Secret Service has every name of every guest that's there, and they're running them through databases. But the thing is, this guy was just recently radicalized, as I said, and I know I said that for a fact last night, that he had just recently been radicalized. And matter of fact, he had timed his attempt. Kate, you think you might be able to text that Craig Ring and find out if there's something happening? And maybe I can call him on, I was going to call him on Messenger, but if his internet's not connecting, that wouldn't work either. My aunt. Oh, no. You mean my great aunt. You would definitely know a difference if my aunt stopped by. You mean my great aunt, my grandmother's sister. No, and you can't tell them apart. You know what you got to do to tell them apart? You got to cut them in half and count the rings. One of them's older than the other one, but I don't even really know which. So, hey, no problem. Yeah, good. That's no problem, Mary. That is no problem. I get it. I understand how that works. I get it. If he thinks we might be able to connect, I don't know if the internet service would be able to connect for me to call him on Messenger. I could bring him on. If we could do that, we could always attempt to do that, and I would be fine with that as well. I just want to be able to give him every shot possible. Or hold on, I'm getting ready to sneeze. I hate when that happens live. Got to pull down my nose to stop it. Oh God, that's horrible. If we need to, I'm trying to think. If we need to try to squeeze him in like on Thursday night, if you guys want to work on it, or maybe go someplace else, or like hell, even to like the parking lot of like, where did Sproles go? The parking lot of Rural King, and connect them via phone like on Thursday evening. I don't know. I mean, well, I'll do whatever. I'll work around whatever he's got going on. I'll do whatever, because I want to give him the chance to. I want to have the chance to have him on. So we'll do whatever we need to do. I remember now listening to the most professional Boss Hogs of Liberty that you guys said he said that you guys live out in the middle of nowhere. He had to download Messenger on his tablet. I get it. I understand. No big deal. Hey, we got time. We got nothing but time. We got time to kill. So just, let us know. One of the, just don't go to Randy's. Yeah, right. Hearing that the guy was inside the hotel, to me, makes it make a lot more sense. And that makes a very good question. You know, generally when presidents are going to go places, they send the Secret Service out, sometimes days in advance, and they're on scene from days in advance up to and through the event. And they're taking bomb sniffing dogs and, dogs that can smell black powder, gunpowder, and guns and weapons and bombs and things like that. And I was interested in knowing, and I think this would be a good question, and I have so far not heard anybody ask this. Did they run those dogs through the halls of every guest, and Kate says, didn't they vet all the guests in a hotel? Well, what do you do? What do you do with that? You violate people's Fourth Amendment rights because they happen to be a businessman staying in a very swanky hotel who had no idea that the White House Correspondents' dinner was going to be there, and he's checked in for 2 weeks because he's at a conference, and now you're like, wanting to go through their room or whatnot, because obviously they wouldn't be able to go through their rooms and things. But I guarantee you, the Secret Service had the names of all of these men. I guarantee you. So very, very strange situation going on with this. The other thing is, they said because they said that in this situation, and I imagine all of them, the Secret Service considered there to be a clean side and a dirty side. And obviously the clean side was everything inside the ballroom, and the dirty side was everything outside of the ballroom. And they did not put the magnetometers outside because you had guests and people coming in. So what they did was they said that this ballroom, I'm looking here what you're saying. Stand by. We've got call him on Messenger. Okay, we'll get ready to call him on Messenger. The magnetometers were not out at the street level. The magnetometers were placed at the entry level of where people would go, and they were not even outside of the ballroom. The magnetometers, you would go through the magnetometer, then you would have to go down a massive amount of stairs or escalators into an area like underground, I assume, where you would then go down. So this guy was technically not close to the ballroom. Where he did this was at the first entry level, which is another thing that I was talking with Shockproof about last night, that I said I didn't believe. I think that we would find out that this wasn't like right up at the barrier, but it was more at the magnetometers. And that is something else I heard before coming on, was that he shot at the agents, and all that happened at the magnetometers, which to me seemed, it might not have been the first line of defense, but it wasn't the last line. It was like somewhere in between. So I think that's interesting. Okay, we are going to attempt to call him on Messenger. Stand by 1 second with me, and I will do what we need to do. I know I'm frozen. Give me just 1 second here. I'm frozen because I'm off screen, but you should be able to still hear me. So let me connect this in here, and we will call him on Messenger. Okay. Hello, can you hear me? Okay, that sounds great. Give me 1 second. We'll get you connected up here on the screen so people can hear you and they can hear you, and that's what we will do here. So, okay, give us the talk if you could.
Okay, what kind of talk would you like?
There you go. Can you hear him? Okay, they can hear you loud and clear, and there we go. I knew we would be able to work this out. So I hate that you aren't on screen here with us, but it's more important to hear you than see you. So that's the number one thing. So we got the banner up so people know you're here. Okay,
Yeah,
go ahead.
I don't think my face will change by the time the election gets here.
Well, that's probably a true statement. So, all right, let's start this thing from the beginning. So, okay, as I was we heard the reason why you're running, and I think that's a very what I had said to you after your first answer was, I think that's a very valuable reason why someone would be running. Very important reason why someone would be running. I feel like there's a lot of people that feel the same way that you feel. Moving on to the second question is, what are you telling people? What's your experience when someone says to you, well, you haven't been a police officer, so how do you think that you are going to be able to lead the sheriff's department? You know, what do you say to people who, obviously that's the first question that comes up, you know, how are you going to do this? You've never been a police officer. What's your answer to that?
Well, my answer to that is that I've worked well in the past with my career as far as figuring out which people need to be placed in what positions for the right tasks, I guess I should say. You know, when it comes to the law enforcement side of things, anybody can read a book and learn what laws are and what charges are and what you know, radio calls are, you should say, however you want to say that. Like I said, I am no law enforcement officer. I'm just a concerned citizen. I'm here for the people, and that's who I represent.
Yeah, absolutely. So now, so I'm going to ask you this next question. It's, in my opinion, it's in line with this, and please understand when I ask you this, I mean this with all due respect. I'm not being disrespectful to you at all. Are you running this race as a protest campaign to what's going on in the sheriff's department? Are you running, I guess the question is, are you running knowing or believing that you're not going to win, but you're running as a protest to what's going on? Or do you believe that you have the ability to win, and are you wanting to win?
I believe it I believe if the citizens of Henry County think the same way I do, I can win. I believe that they need somebody that represents them and not the establishment.
Okay.
Like I said, I'm not a stupid person. I mean, every one of these officers, they've gone to a school and learned things from an instructor or out of a book or whatever you want to say. Humility and integrity ain't something you learn from a book.
Yeah, and now that is damn straight. I will agree with you there 100%. I will ask yeah, absolutely. So what so that answer threw me off because I think that's a great answer, what you have to say there. And I want to tell you the reason I asked that question is because I think that both of those answers, if you say, yes, I'm running because I want to win, I think I can win. If the people of Henry County are sick of what's going on and they believe like I do, I can win. I think that is a legitimate and a respectful answer, and I would like that. But I also don't have a problem with someone saying, like, look, I know I'm not going to win, but I'm running out here to bring awareness to the nonsense going on. I think both of those have a place. So that's the reason when I said, I don't mean that with any disrespect. I think both of those, I'm all for political theater, and sometimes that's needed. And so I definitely can respect both of those, and I appreciate your answer there. I think that there's been a kind of an unknown. There's kind of been like a misbelief for a very long time that people, if someone ran for sheriff, they don't have to have been through the academy or yada, yada, yada. They don't have to pass the basic one. Now, they did change some laws some time ago. And basically, the hope is that anyone that would be in that position that would run would go to the law enforcement academy. But in order to have arrest powers and police powers in the state of Indiana, all you would technically have to do would be to take the 40-hour pre-basic that literally anybody as a reserve can do. And it's there's some training there, but it's not much. I mean, it's only 40 hours. If you win, is your plan to attempt to do the academy, to do the 40-hour pre-basic, or would you be strictly an administrative sheriff, meaning you wouldn't be driving a sheriff's car, you wouldn't have police powers, you wouldn't be carrying a gun through the county? I mean, obviously, citizens can carry guns, but what's your thought there, or have you thought about that?
No, I've talked to a friend of mine that's pretty familiar with that, and I would be willing to go to the 40-hour classes. I'm not against any of that. The more I can learn, the better off it would help the job.
Sure.
I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, absolutely. Is this something that, I mean, have you been thinking about this for a while, or is this something that just like events happen and it just recently popped in? I mean, has this been boiling for a year, or is this relatively new?
No, it's been boiling for a while. And then the more investigation I do on myself, I Google things too. I do Google it. So you've got a lot of stories coming out of Indianapolis Star and Press, things like that the people don't see out here. And if they would take the time to Google that, they would get inspired too. They would get a little motivation to make sure you go to the polls and vote. That's the only way you're going to change anything in Henry County. We can't keep doing the same good old boys club and covering everybody's ass. We've got to quit. We've got to go back to some grassroots here and figure some things out, because Henry County is about as bad as it gets from
what I see across the state.
Sure, absolutely. And so in preparing for this, and have you been also tuning in or watching any of the commissioners' meetings, or going to those meetings, or the council meetings, either via the stream on YouTube or in person? Have you been watching all of that?
You know what, Christopher? You do the most excellent job of keeping me informed that I think anybody could, because I spend a lot of time on your website looking at your recordings or your videos. And so, yes, I've been watching the county commissioners and the county council, and I know about the insurance and all the claims. Yes.
Sure, absolutely. And so, I will be I will be honest. I like your answer about Googling the information, where most people would be like, "What in the world?" But that obviously is something that is a legitimate thing in Henry County, because the current sheriff continues to tell people to just Google it, And so, I have no problem with that answer. I think that's a legitimate answer for Henry County. I generally ask this at the end, but apparently, I think sometimes names on here get confused, and I think other people have other people's names. I don't know if Chadwick is under the name of Jack Off Jack tonight or not, but do you know, we have a viewer on here wanting to know if you know are you aware of the 5 elements or rights protected under the First Amendment?
You're talking about the freedom of speech, press, religion, and assembly?
Yes.
Am I missing one there?
I think you're missing one there, but I think you've you've got it. So, yeah.
It's funny. We had a 4th of July party here about 3 or 4 years ago, and it was when all the COVID and everything started in, and the host of the party passed out the U.S. Constitution pamphlet.
The little pocket.
It was pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. So I've also have another viewer that asks what you do currently for a living, what your profession is.
I am a heavy equipment operator out of the local 103 in Indianapolis. That's what my current profession is.
Okay.
My current profession is laid off, so I work out of my garage a little bit to make some extra money. But before that, I worked for a company out of Henry County that it was a pipeline company. I worked for them for 12 years before I decided to quit working on the road and come home and spend some time with my family.
Sure, absolutely. And so, what would you say are your 3 biggest issues with the sheriff's department, or the 3 biggest issues that you would like to change if elected?
Well, for one, we've got to do something about insurance policies. They're so far out of control. They went up 300% in 3 years. That's pretty crazy. We got to figure out how we can get somebody to insure us that trusts us again, I guess I should say. That would be one of the main goals. And I guess accountability. It's not just about accountability for our officers, and it's also for the public. And another thing is we need to try to quit being on the defense all the time. It seems like the sheriff's department's always on the defense, and nobody's ever talking good about them, I guess. So that's why we're on the defense most of the time. So those are some things I'd like to try to restore, is public trust, maybe, and along that lines.
Yeah. I'm a former police officer. I spent time in law enforcement. I worked in the Delaware County Prosecutor's Office, and I am as pro police as it gets when they're doing right, and I'm as anti bad police or corruption as it gets when that's needed. But something, my dad passed away in 2016, but something my dad said frequently while I was on the job and then off was the problem with law enforcement was when police officers went from being peacekeepers to being tax collectors. And
good outlook.
Yeah, I think that's something that kind of used to make me mad when he would say that, but I have grown to definitely understand and appreciate that outlook on things, and I definitely agree that there's a lot of situations where it could be handled better if the law enforcement officers that showed up to the scene were peacekeepers rather than, we're going to arrest for this piddly nonsense. And, we're going to throw you in jail until you pay the tax, the toll, the fund, the bail to get out. And you've got to, do all of this court fines and all of these things,
Yeah. It's a money racket.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to call it. It's a money racket. It's what betters the financial pocket of the establishment and not the people. They don't care if the people's hurt over the deal. That's what it seems like to me anyway.
Yeah. Absolutely. We have a viewer here that's asked what obvious, and so this is something that people a lot of times they don't know that you also have to contend with, but obviously contending with the merit board and all the laws that apply with that. How would your approach as being sheriff go when you're dealing with complaints handled on officers or officers who are, behaving badly? How would your approach be there?
Well, everybody needs to be accountable for their actions, of course. I'm hoping I would be able to choose a good chief deputy that would help me out in that situation. Somebody with the experience, we've got about 100 years of experience running for sheriff's department. So maybe somebody like them would be a good person to be a second in command or to help navigate through it. But I don't think I could make it any worse than what it already is.
That's that's probably a pretty accurate ansor.
Well, and I've seen one comment here that it's going to take years to straighten out the insurance problem, and they're right. It'll probably never be straightened out in one term anyway. It usually takes twice as long to fix something as it does to mess it up.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. That's definitely, that's what I've said. Whether this is something that the people of Henry County send a message to Sproles and vote someone in this term, or if he gets another 4 years, one way or another, his leadership of the sheriff's department is coming to an end. It'll be coming to an end, in December, or it'll be coming to an end in 4 years, December in 4 years. And whenever someone new takes over the sheriff's department reins, it's going to take quite some time to fix things. And the longer that Sproles is in power, it's just the longer it's going to take to fix things. And that's very concerning. And that should be concerning for people in Henry County, to think about the possibility of him having another 4 years.
Yeah, I'm not one. I don't like bashing anybody.
Sure.
Everybody usually, for the most part, does the best that they know how to do.
Yeah.
And that's all we can hope for. That's all we can hope for. I don't. I think I'll just leave that one right there also.
Sure. No, that's perfectly fine. So Let me see what he's saying here. And something that's important, obviously, is the continual growth of the sheriff's department and replacing guys that retire or guys that move on, guys or gals that move on to other departments, and hiring. And obviously a lot of that's done through the merit commission as well. But what is something that you would be looking for in newer officers, people wanting to come aboard? What would be something that you would be hoping to look for if you were involved with the hiring process, bringing on new deputies?
Honesty, treating people with respect, of course. And I understand, when you say treating people with respect, people are saying, well, how can you beat somebody with respect who don't treat you with respect? That's what you get paid for. That's how I look at that. I guess experience, and that's funny coming from me since I have none. But that would be like you said, the merit board would be involved with that, and hopefully I could get a lot of help from, should I say, peers or help on the force.
Yeah. Something that we've been asking a lot of the other sheriff candidates and some of the candidates in other law enforcement aspects, what is your thought or outlook on, or are you familiar with the use of flock cameras? Are you familiar with what I'm talking about?
I've been hearing a little bit about them. Yeah, I've seen some of that stuff on CSI Miami.
Yeah, right.
And I don't guess until here a few weeks ago I really realized that we had very many of them cameras in our county. But I look at it that you're installing on somebody's privacy, I should say.
Okay.
Not all that's why we live in a free country. What goes on in my house don't go on in the street, of course, but I don't think people want to be spied on all the time. But I do see how they would catch a Amber Alert, if a child was missing or if they had the numbers on a. So I could go either way with it. I guess it just depends on where they're placed and what they're being used for.
In my mind, it's really how it's being used, what it's being used. We're a big talk up here where I live in Muncie and Delaware County right now is drones, and I think people don't think about this because it's 2026, and most law enforcement departments use drones for various different things. If you're using a drone because there's a kid that's missing, or you've got a dementia patient that's, left the house and forgot how to get back or something like that, that's one thing. But if you're using that drone to find a missing kid, and while you're doing that, you happen to fly over, Christopher Bilbrey's backyard, and oh God, he's got 2 pot plants back there. And so we find the missing girl, but then in a week when not much is going on, we go back and pull that footage. Now we take that footage and we go and do a trash pull, and we find, some seeds and potting plant, trimmings or something like that. And then we use that as the basis for a warrant. It seems like that's not the intended purpose. You weren't doing some sort of drug investigation. You were, it just depends on how it's being used. Is kind of what is in my mind. And I think that the problem there is dealing with humans. You're always going to be dealing with humans, because I tell you, one of the things that they always tell you in law enforcement is when you first get on, and you've got that radio in your hand and you can pull up anybody's information, with a couple numbers, or you can call down to dispatch and say, hey, I want you to run the background on Craig Ring. Here's his date of birth. Here's his social security number, or here's his license plate number, or whatever. Or you can just type it into the computer. They tell you, the very first thing, you're not supposed to, you can't run Donald Trump. Don't be doing that. You don't run license plates that you see in movies. Don't be checking up on ex-girlfriends. And everybody's like, oh, yeah. And then the very first thing that everybody does the minute that they're cut out by themselves is they start checking girlfriends and their girlfriends' boyfriends and doing all of that. And that is a very serious overload.
That's when the corruption begins.
Yep. Because people, that's just human nature.
Yeah. We got the nosy asses of Henry County.
Right. And that kind of stuff has to be taken care of. And there has to be a lot of checks and balances to make sure that these tools are not being used.
Used and abused. I agree with that 100%. Yeah, I don't know the answer for all that. I don't know the answer for the flock cameras. They're new. They, the more flock cameras we get, the less officers I guess we need. I don't know. Because that's what it's taken the place of. It's taken the place of the investigator or the search or whatever it may be.
Yeah. Henry County towns. Let's see here.
I think we should use our taxpayer dollars on maybe dash cams. That way we could have some accountability and some
sure,
live footage of what really happens.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I'll tell you, that is something, and I don't know if you heard me talk about that on here or not, but that's definitely something that I inadvertently found here recently, because I came through law enforcement when either there was no camera in the car at all or dash cams. We didn't have body cams. I'm prior to the body cam phase. When I was in the last couple of years, I was on the department. We were talking about, a couple officers here or there starting to get body cams. And, I think at the time Muncie had 3 body cams, like 1 per shift or something like that, and you were really just trying to figure out how to pay for this and how to get departments outfitted. So it was really new, but dash cams were a big thing. And there was a lot of pro in that because you could see what the officer was looking at. But the minute, officers would wear a recorder, and the minute we would park at a house and run into the house, you could no longer see what's going on, but you could hear. So there was at least an audio recording. Well, then I noticed the other day when filing for a record request that they've taken the dash cams out of the cars and everybody's using these body cams. And it's fine if you're 6'8" and you set to where your chest is above the steering wheel. But if you're a little short, I'm average height. I'm 5'9", 5'10". I'm higher. I'm 5'10", maybe 5'11". But if you've got somebody that's 5'9", 5'8", 5'6" that's sitting in a car, out of the body cameras that I looked, half of them were below the dash. And so all you see for the entire time that that's running is the officer's arm and the steering wheel. So you're not able to see what's going on. That's a big problem.
I agree. I remember watching the video you posted, and all you seen was the car go underneath the overpass at 70.
Yep.
You could see how fast it was going and what the RPMs was.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That's that. Yeah. And that was a big concern because a lot of those things I was watching was, you got these officers that are driving, very, anytime an officer is going to an officer needs assistant, you got them driving really quickly. And it's very, very crazy. So yeah, I think you need to be able to see outside.
Maybe we can talk the county council to, loaning us some of that rainy day fund and we can put some in it.
Right. That would be good. So go ahead.
If we've got extra money, I don't know why we're not using it.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm all for saving some money back in case of some kind of crazy emergency, but it's kind of like the state government. You start getting to the point where you've got such a surplus that it's like, well, why are we not taking care of some of the needs that we have if we've got this much money saved back? Like, I obviously am not talking about running through all of it, but why don't we start taking care of some of the the needs that we have that really could make a difference. So yeah, I agree with that.
And it protects the officer.
Sure.
I mean, transparency is everything. If you can see exactly what happens, there's no question. There's not even a reason to talk about it. You can tell me everything you want to tell me, but show me something.
Yeah. Absolutely. What, as you're going around and you're talking to various people, obviously people's concerned with, the things they're hearing and the lack of transparency and the accountability on certain things and the pursuits or whatnot. But, what I tend to find is a lot of that stuff tends to be the people who, watch this program and the people who are, really tuned in. Your average citizen is not that tuned in, and they're just getting the bits and pieces, and they're, hell, I'm going to be very careful because I don't want to out this person. I've got a buddy that works at a place where he works with some people from Henry County, and until recently, they had not heard anything going on with the sheriff's department. They hadn't heard about the pursuits. If you're not reading the newspaper and you're not watching this program and you're not on social media, which there are a lot of people out there like that, they're thinking, well, hell, John's doing a good thing. Sproles is doing, we hear he's changing the culture and they're being nice and they're doing all of this. So when you're talking to just the regular people of Henry County, the people who are not as tuned in and are not watching my show or other shows and are not reading the newspapers daily, what's like the biggest issue they're having, or what are you hearing from those people, the regular people?
The regular people, I've been across the county. I didn't know a whole lot of people in Knightstown, didn't know a whole lot of people in Middletown. And I don't really have to tell them much because they tell me.
Okay.
For the most part. But they're concerned are the same as what we have.
Okay.
But it's mostly in the younger generations. The older generations, like my father's age,
Mm-hmm.
in their late 70s, 80s, they don't know anything that goes on other than what they get to read in the newspaper.
Yeah.
Because, even a guy that's 55 years old has a hard time navigating through the internet.
Absolutely.
The older generations, they rely on what the news tells them, and we don't have very many news outlets in Henry County that really put the news out. That's what's pretty depressing about all of it.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Well, and one of the things I'll say, this is just my commentary on this, but the Courier Times gets in a lot of advertisement dollars from the Sproles family, and the family isn't responsible for the sins of their family members, so I don't blame them for anything. But if you're an organization like the Courier Times and you're getting a lot of money from Acme Business, and the brother of the owner of Acme Business is now running for commissioner or sheriff or mayor or whatever, and the campaign is paying a lot of money for advertisement, it tends to be hard to write things that might piss those people off. And so I do see that as a major problem I've went as far as to say that the newspaper in Henry County is almost like quote unquote state-ran media at times, because it's very, very slanted. And so that is a major issue for the people who are just reading the publication of the newspaper down there. They think everything's wonderful, everything, people are beating up on the sheriff's department for no reason. And, they're doing a good job. And I think that's something that needs to change. And I think that over time, things like that will change, just because, those obviously time marches on. And, in 30 years, the 80-year-olds will still be familiar with social media, because there are people, that are 50, 40, now, you know what I mean?
Correct.
So
Yes.
that'll happen over time, but it's interesting. So just kind of winding down, I mean, what is your when you're going out and talking to people, why should the people of Henry County elect you over your opponents?
Christopher, I tell them that I'm no politician, and I usually get a yeah, right.
Yeah.
But I tell them I'm no politician. I'm here to support the people, to be a liaison between the people in the sheriff's department and the courts. Other than that, I mean, I'm for the people. I'm probably not the smartest person when it comes to law enforcement. I can tell you that, but that just comes in time. I mean, if Henry County was to trust me, I think they would be pleased.
Yeah. And I think that this might be an interesting question for you, because this person is not anywhere. The person asking this, it doesn't even live in Indiana. But I know that you have made some comments about this, so I am going to ask you this. What's your thought on the idea of having to ask for protection or have your own protection, and how do you think that should be handled?
How I should have to ask for protection?
No, meaning just if you're sheriff of Henry County, you'll see a lot of times, like there's sheriffs who say, like specifically that Grady Judd down in Florida, who tells people,
well,
yes, we want you to handle your own shit.
Yeah. I know where you're going with this.
Yeah, what's your thought on
that? I've lived out here on the county line my entire life,
mm-hmm.
and up until the last couple months, since I've been saying this, I haven't seen a county sheriff in my area for my entire life. I could count them all on one hand. I wouldn't have to take my shoes off to count them all. I guarantee it.
Right.
But you can't wait on a county sheriff to get here to protect yourself. You've got to protect yourself however the Constitution lets you protect yourself and your civil rights. Because at the end of the day, you could be dead in 20 minutes by the time the sheriff gets here.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That's very, very important. Okay, well, I appreciate you coming on. I apologize that we had the technical issue there at first, but I'm glad that we were able to get that figured out and to get you on. As always, you are welcome back here. If you make it through the primary into the fall, you're one of the races that will have a challenger. So you would be welcome back in the fall. And anytime, if there's ever anything that you want to get out or need to say, you're always welcome back. And we appreciate your time and appreciate you coming on and speaking your mind.
Okay, I appreciate it. One last thing, Henry County, you can't make a change if you don't vote. Whatever that change might be, you can't make it if you don't vote.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate it, sir. Thank you very much, and you have a good rest of your evening.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Bye.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, give me 1 second. I know I'm paused here. That was Mr. Craig Ring. He's running for sheriff of Henry County. And I don't know if you just got back in here, Joe, but he did go through and answer that. If you just came back in, sir, he did answer that. So you might want to go and back about 20 minutes ago and listen to that. He did answer. We did ask him about that. So yeah, that was is Mr. Craig Ring. Now knowing that Randy is not coming on the program, we're still waiting to see if John does. John's not going to, but we'll still give him the benefit of the doubt for a few more days. I will say, like I said the other day, I have people who have asked, why do you give Randy a hard time and not give Craig a hard time? And the answer to that was, and still is, the Constitution of the state of Indiana allows for citizens to run for sheriff if they are 18 years of age or older, if they are a registered voter, if they live in the area, and they are not convicted of a felony. And anyone who meets those criteria is eligible to run and should be able to run. I am not for stopping anyone from being able to do what the Constitution lays out. So I don't even wish that Randy wasn't running. I hope he's not elected. I don't want him to be elected, and I hope the people of Henry County don't vote for him. Matter of fact, I hope that they don't vote for him so greatly that only 2 or 3 people maybe do, and he gets the point, and he doesn't ever do anything stupid like this again. And I'm talking about Randy, not because Randy's running and he's not a law enforcement officer, but because Randy's running and he's a liar. That's my issue. If we see Randy lying about things, obfuscating, changing the truth, making himself sound better, we've already got somebody like that in office. We already have somebody in office that tries to make themselves out to be better than they are and changes things to make bad things not so bad and make them a little better. We already have somebody like that in office, and Randy's doing that as a candidate. So we don't need to throw someone out of office to elect somebody else. And in that regard, I'll be honest. I think that Randy's actually worse than Sproles. I'll be perfectly honest with you there. I do think that Sproles has a hard time with truth and knowing reality. But I think Randy's actually worse than Sproles in that regard. So that's why I give Randy such a hard time. As far as Mr. Ring, he's legitimate and able to run just like anyone else could. Now, coming from a perspective of someone who has been in law enforcement, does it give me a little bit of pause that Mr. Ring does not have that law enforcement background? It does. I will be honest. I think I'd be crazy not to say that. I think legitimately, he could very easily pick a chief deputy who would have lots of years of service on and would know a lot of great information. And, I think I'm going to say something really crazy. I don't know if Craig will be able to pull it out or not pull it out, but I will tell you, in my mind, probably what I think would be, I'm not going to say it yet. I'm not going to say it. Nope. Just remind me. I'm not going to say it yet. I'm going to wait till after May. No, maybe I need to say it. I will tell you guys. I'm going to write this down because I want to say something, but I'm not going to say it. It's not about Craig. It's about the fall election. I don't want to say it yet. I'll come back to it. But going back to what I was going to say, Craig or someone in Craig's position could pick a chief deputy that would have the experience to do the heavy lifting, and Craig could be a specific administrative deputy. You know what I mean? And what I will say there is, I like that he said he would be willing to take the 40-hour pre-basic, and in someone in that position, I think it would be interesting if they said, I will take the 40-hour pre-basic just to make sure that we meet all standards for insurance and whatnot, but I'm not going to be a person who's wearing the uniform and out here parading around and going out and pulling people over and making arrests and doing all that. My guys are doing that. I am going to be leading the department and making sure that our department is the highest standard of professional service that you can get. And I think that's a very big thing that someone like Craig in that position could do, and would be beneficial. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. It'll be interesting to see what the people of Henry County do, and we'll have to wait and see. The election is we are just about a week away. It's obviously Sunday, so this week is the last week. We will get through this week here, and then the election is on Tuesday, May 5th, and I think that's a big deal. So you need to get out and vote. Historically, this is a very low turnout election, and I'm telling you, if the people of Henry County don't turn out, you're going to be sadly mistaken that Sproles is just going to be able to be beaten, because it's going to take people turning out and doing what they need to do in order to defeat him. Give me 1 second here. I do want to say this. I want to say this about this race, this sheriff's race. I think that we're going to have Jason Williams on. When are we having Jason? Jason Williams will be the last candidate. We're having Jason on Wednesday. And, obviously, hold on 1 second. Sorry, I'm asking a question. This race is going, in a lot of people's minds that I've heard, the race is coming down. A lot of people feel like it's coming down between Sproles and Jim Nicholson. I like Nicholson. I had a good time talking with Nicholson, and I have tried to ask him both off air, off record, and on record who his chief deputy is going to be. And Nicholson has said that, he's got somebody in mind. He's been considering that, but he's not, it's his election, and he's not going to put somebody else out there. I will tell you, and I respect Jim and Jim's campaign team, his campaign chairman. I like them. They watch here frequently, and I look, the bottom line, there's going to be times that we agree and we disagree, but I'm just putting this out there. I am hearing overwhelmingly that there are people in Henry County that are absolutely worried that Nicholson is going to pick Jim Goodwin, and that this fear is causing people to not vote for Jim Nicholson. Now, I don't know Jim Goodwin from Adam, but there are people who I absolutely respect who have an issue with Jim Goodwin and have many different reasons that they have issues with Jim Goodwin. And I am just throwing this out there and hoping that this is picked up. If Jim is considering multiple people, I don't know if he's got multiple people or not, but if there's multiple people, and if Jim Goodwin is one of these individuals, he might heavily consider not going that route, because if he does, people are going to be very upset. And if he if he comes, I'll put it to you like this: if Jim Goodwin is not the choice, if that's not the choice, Nicholson needs to come out and say, without a shadow of a doubt, Nicholson is not my chief deputy pick. I don't know if he can do that. I don't know if in his mind, I don't want him to lie, obviously, but I'm just throwing that out there. If Jim Goodwin is not the pick, Nicholson needs to make that known. And so that's important. As far as asking me who Jim Goodwin is, I think he's a former police officer. I don't know if he's former City of Newcastle or Sheriff's Department. I don't know anything about him. I just know I am hearing a large amount of information about Jim Goodwin, and people are saying, I'm hearing people saying, hey, we've already went and voted, and we voted for Jason Williams. We wanted to vote for Nicholson, but we heard he was going to pick, they call him a name, but Goodwin is his real name, Jim Goodwin. And they say, we've heard that he was going to pick Goodwin, so we couldn't vote for Nicholson. And I don't want that to be stopping people from voting for Nicholson if he's not going to pick Jim Goodwin. So that needs to be just giving you some friendly advice, putting some friendly advice out there for people, for the Nicholson team, if that's something that's going on. Am I hinting that Jim is a bad apple? I don't know. I don't know him. Look up in Holton. I don't. I have no clue. I don't know anything about Jim. I don't know if he's good, bad, or whatever. I'm just telling you what I'm hearing from people that are contacting me. So that's that. Okay, Shockproof. Were you here at the very beginning, or did you just get here? Did you get here when we were talking about last night's ordeal with the president? The stories that I'm hearing are bad. Yes. James Goodwin is a fair deputy as long as I've known. And like I said, I don't know this guy from Adam. I'm just telling you what I'm hearing from a large number of people in Henry County. And I don't know. I will find out what I'm permitted to say and what I'm not permitted to say, or if I'm able to verify, because I'm not going to say things that I can't verify. So I will let you know. That is a very good statement there, Mr. Ring. One more thing. If we keep playing the same lottery numbers, we will get the same outcome. And I think that's a very big story. No, Jack, that's not true at all. We cover state and national stuff when the time is right. Matter of fact, one of these days we just might kick totally over to national, never talk public and local again. One of these days, these people are going to piss me off enough to where I just say, screw it. And we shut her down and then open up a whole different program one of these days. So, Jack, I heard all of it. There's a lot going on with that. I wish I could speak one time. Give me a call. We can bring you on. I imagine that would be a crazy show, but I'd be willing to give you the floor at some point. You want to come on and talk? I'm sure that would be wild if you. I would be willing to let you come on and talk if you would like. But just in ending, because we're gonna call. Well, hell, it's already 1:30. So James Goodwin has Jim Nicholson all over his Facebook. That's what I'm also hearing. So we'll see what goes on. The last thing I wanted to say about last night's events, and I think it's going to be interesting, is apparently the shooter had sent out a very well timed email with his manifesto to his family members, and one of them was so concerned that they contacted the law enforcement in their state. I don't know if it was like Utah or Colorado. I don't know where they said. I forget where they said it was, but they contacted and said, "Hey, I think my family member is going to do something here." So right before this happened, people knew, but they weren't able to stop it beforehand. So I think it's going to be very interesting. They're saying that this guy is not cooperating. He is not talking to people. He's not talking to the police. He's going to be in court tomorrow, and they're currently already only talking about him facing 2 charges. I think that will increase in time because he definitely planned this out. He was there ahead of time. He wrote up a manifesto. So I think that he's going to be hit with many, many charges. And I hope eventually, we'll hear what's going on from this, because I would like to hear, what he was saying. So we'll be looking through all of this, and we'll, even though he survived, he knows his life is over. Yeah. I mean, the way it was, the thing they said that he was a teacher, he got Teacher of the Year last year. And that's scary, because if this guy was this radicalized, what, if anything, was he teaching the children? That's a scary thing too. So, and I want to ask, and it does not matter. It does not matter this. Thank you, Bilbrey, for the invite. I must ask the RG if I can go to Jack. I want to ask, and this does not matter. This does not matter at all. But I keep seeing people saying, you idiots, you idiot MAGA, this comes back on you because this guy was a white MAGA. And I'm like, well, I don't know anything about him being MAGA. I don't know anything at all about this guy being MAGA. But I am way confused, beyond all confusion, of them saying that this man is a white man. I don't know. I don't care about race. I don't care if he's white or he's black. I find it odd that everyone keeps talking about him being a white man. And I just want your opinion. Am I seeing something wrong? Is this a white man? Like, it does not matter. I don't care if he's black or white. I don't care one bit. But is this a white guy? Because he's certain. I mean, I don't know. In my mind, he's both. Okay, I guess fair enough. The other thing, they are, yeah. Now, Kate, damn you came out and said his middle name. We have got to quit saying his middle name. Everybody keeps coming out saying this dude's middle name, like they're giving him the 3-name treatment, and we can't be doing that. He did not succeed. Therefore, he does not get the 3-name treatment. Everyone keeps coming out and calling this man Cole Thomas Allen. But no, it's just Cole Allen. It's Cole Allen. He did not kill a president. He does not get the 3-name deal. So Cole Allen. Matter of fact, I'm going back in my video from last night, and I'm deleting his 3rd name. His middle name, because he just doesn't. If we want to call him Cole T. Allen, I'm down with that. We can call him Cole T. Allen, but he does not get the 3-name treatment because he did not succeed with his mission. Jack, you're a freak, dude. You know what I'd like to get sometime? I think what would be very interesting is Jack, Shockproof, and Karen in the same room. That would be an interesting conversation. So, all right, you guys, that's it for tonight. We will be, hey, real quick. 3rd and final, if he's white, I'm Brad Pitt. I see the resemblance, Castle Lord. Tomorrow is Monday, and we have the 3rd and final Sproles live Q&A. We will be live streaming the Q&A right here live, as always, so you'll be able to get involved, and we have a new board. Is this the new board? Okay. I'm trying to see the new information.
It's Been My Honor is new. Shocked or Shocking is new. Frivolous is new. Amazing is new. I'm glad you brought that up. That's new.
Okay.
If you mentioned social media, that's new.
Culture change.
Culture change is new. Yeah. So there's some new ones on there, but a lot of it's still the old stuff because it's just too good.
Yeah. Basically, we took out the things that he said last time. Multiple. Some of them. So there's that. All right. Well, I'm glad we've got that up. I will put that out. You will all get to see that tomorrow. That tomorrow, Q&A is tomorrow at 6 p.m. tomorrow. 6 p.m. tomorrow. We will put this out on social media. It will be out under his feed. It will be in our feed, and you will get a play. You'll be able to watch it right here live, and then afterwards, we'll talk about it tomorrow night. So tune in. We'll have that. We'll also have a candidate interview. Yay. So take care. We'll see you tomorrow. Good night. Have a good weekend, or enjoy the rest of your weekend. Whatever's left is what I mean. And we'll see you tomorrow. So good night. Goodbye.